week's episode of the Money Drill, the show that's committed to helping you drill down to the reliable retirement solutions for you. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and I'm joined by Erik Morgan. He is the president of Retirement Financial Group. Erik, my friend, I'm so happy to be back with you this week. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So good to see you again. It's always a pleasure coming out and doing these shows and just having a good conversation about the things that matter.
Absolutely, and I know that we love getting to serve the community of Southeast Texas, and since the last time we were in the studio together, there's been an important change that I want to highlight.
Correct.
The name of the company has changed. It is now Retirement Financial Group, so I would love for you to share with our viewers a little bit about this change, how it came about, and yeah, about the new name.
For sure. So, you know, years ago, for years we operated as Retirement National. Great name, it's been a great company, you know, but we got so many calls about, so are you a retirement facility? Or do you place people into homes? Because the name just didn't give us give people an understanding of what it is we did, right?
Yes.
And so
it wasn't clear.
It wasn't clear, right?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to kind of, you know, we were able to purchase a building this year, and we on that move we said, you know, we're not going to go back with the old name. And of course, this has been in the works for 2 years, actually. We've had the name and kind of been operating, if you will, on the backside of everything under this brand.
Right.
But to the face of the clients, we actually made the switch upon the purchase of the new building, put the new sign up, new business cards, new website, all this stuff, just really to help people understand Retirement Financial Group. We are focusing on retirement financial planning.
Yes,
basically.
and that's what you specialize in.
That's
so
right.
I think it's a perfect fit.
It's our bread and butter.
Yes,
you know.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that change, and it's
Thank you.
exciting to get to continue to be a part of this amazing brand.
It's been a lot of fun. One thing I've really enjoyed is kind of see it come to life, right? It's been on paper for roughly a couple of years, and now it's coming to life. And it's been a lot of fun just in this transition.
Absolutely. Well, great job. And we're excited to be back with you today. And today's subject is maybe not the most fun, if we're honest, right? But we are going to be talking about a subject that is very near and dear to both of our hearts, and specifically to Erik and his family. We're going to be talking about end-of-life planning and what you need to know about it. And you know, Erik, as we've said, it's not always a fun subject, but it's necessary.
It is.
No one's getting out of this life alive. That's the reality. And, you know, this is actually what spurred you on to want to go into business and build Retirement Financial Group. So share a little bit more about that.
For sure. You know, they always say there's two things that are certain: taxes and death, right? And we're going to cover both, not on the same show, but today it's the death part. And so kind of what really allowed me to kind of make this transition to being a partner, being a financial advisor, helping people, was I observed my mother and my father, right? And so my mom, she passed away at the age of 52, but she was diagnosed with her first cancer at the age of 40.
Wow.
I was 16 years old. And, you know, generally in a relationship, in a household, you have two types of people. One person is, you know, they're the spender, and the other one's the saver. Or the other one, they, you know, in my parents' case, even my in-laws' case, the husband goes to work and, you know, earns the money, and the wife pays all the bills, right? And so my mom did all the bills, right? She knew what was where, how much we had, and when what was due, right? And so I remember this specifically. I come in from work. My brother and I at that time, during high school, we had built a business. We had about 60 yards we used to mow. And so I came in from mowing one day, and I saw, after my mom was diagnosed with with cancer, Dad was kind of in this transition of like, she is unable to take care of these things. And so I walk in, and it's like, you know, it's like in a movie. All the papers just spread out on the dining room table. His hair is almost like pulled up. And I look at him, I said, what is going on? He said, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, he's good at a lot of things. My dad's great at a lot of things, but those things are not his gifting. You know, even today, whenever I have a financial conversation with him about budgeting and planning and what his investments are doing, about 30 seconds in, he gets glossed over, and he's like, I don't really care. You know, he at least pays his bills. You know, he's learned how to do that, right? But during that time, so I saw that, and God's always given me a knack for numbers and kind of a knack for organization, and
that is a gift.
That is a gift. You know,
not everybody has that gift.
So I stepped in. I said, look, I'll handle it. So during those, you know, I was a senior in high school. So during my senior year in high school, I was kind of paying their bills for them, or I mean, it's their money, but I was kind of getting it paid.
With that, yeah.
And then once Mom got well, so after she finished her chemo and her radiation, she kind of assumed that role again. And then 9 years later, she gets another cancer, and then Dad has to come back into that plan. a little bit more prepared.
Right.
But still a struggle, you know, and even after her passing, after she battled cancer for another couple of years, even after her passing, there were still some moments where I would say, hey, I would go to the mailbox for him. I'd say, hey, Dad, you're late on the bill. Oh, I didn't know that was there. You know, and so he was getting his feet underneath him. And what I think is really important is just having those conversations early. You know, my wife and I, for example, my wife is a lot like my dad, does not want to talk about finances. You know, we have a family budget meeting once a month. She could care less about my spreadsheets. I love my spreadsheets. She don't like them. So we sit down and we kind of go through these things. And I said, the important thing is, if I die, you need to know what is where and how to, you know, get access to it.
Absolutely.
So what I do for our family is after the passing of my mom specifically, I kind of went through and I made this evergreen document. And that document has every life insurance policy, every investment account, every bank account, who to call if this happens, who to call if that happens, all the way down to the unfortunate thing of even planning the funeral. So that whenever, God forbid, I go home, Lord calls me home, she can walk in and know exactly what to do. Because in those moments, Kristin, of grief, of pain, you're dealing with these things that might be expected, might not be expected. You need to have a plan. And I tell you, the hardest thing to do, you know, we talk a lot about this with our friends, and I try to get their parents engaged in it, but they'll say, well, I don't want to talk about that right now. I don't want, meaning they don't want to deal with it.
You don't want to deal with it. And also, I know in our family, there's a school of thought on one side where it's like, we don't want to dishonor this person because they're still alive. And I've had to help share with them, this is one of the most loving things you can do, is have these conversations ahead of time.
To see what they want, to see how they want those things done, right? And so, you know, specifically, you know, I think it's really important, you know, Mom, during her last couple of years of battling cancer, there was a moment where MD Anderson said, hey, she might get a transplant. But in order to get a transplant, you have to plan out pretty much what I just said. You have to have your funeral planned. You have to have all of your expenses in line or aligned, and like for your spouse to know exactly what's where and how to do those things. So it's kind of a process that the hospital requires
in order to get the transplant.
Correct. You know, it might have changed. It's been a few years, but that was at that time, that was the process.
Right.
And so having to deal with that while you're watching that individual just get weaker and weaker is a lot harder than dealing with it while you're both healthy or feeling better. So do it young, start it early. I think it's a really, really important thing. Whether you're 25 or you're 60 in great health, it's never too late to start.
So how do you help walk folks through this? How do you help them solve this issue? Because I think a lot of people probably watching can relate to, you know, we haven't thought about it, we don't want to think about it, it's overwhelming, we don't know what to do next. So what happens when someone comes in and that's where they're starting from?
You know, like I think about one client, you know, it was actually my very first client ever got in the business. She comes in and she was a teacher, a single lady, and she sits down and we kind of go through her plan. And within a week or two of that, her mom passed. And we sit down, and I mean, she walked in, and there was just files of stuff, right? And so we started digging through all the files and trying to understand what was where. You know, how do we? She had one sibling, so what goes to what person? All the things. It was a mess, right? It took several months to kind of work through those things. So kind of what we try to do is, you know, every year we just send out a new beneficiary list. So we want to make sure beneficiaries are always updated. You know, that list is always evergreen.
Who things are going to be left to.
That's right. Because a lot of people, you know, things change, you know, marriages change, unfortunately. You know, relationships change with children.
Or there could be a birth if there's a great grandchild and accidentally gets left out of things because things don't get updated.
That's correct. We want to make sure those are updated every year. But more specifically, just recently, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in the show, but things we're doing to really kind of help people write this stuff down, because I've seen it more and more in the last couple of years of just this being an ongoing problem where people are not prepared to leave, if you will.
Absolutely.
And the burden that causes and the grief that causes.
Right.
And if that's you, if you're in a point where, you know, you might not know everything about your finances. You don't know what your husband or what your wife is doing and where the money's at and what happens if these things happen. We would love for you to come in, complimentary meeting with myself and my team, we've taken procedures and processes we've developed with attorneys and CPAs locally that can help us on that transition. Or we'll make sure the plan is good and laid out and robust and reliable for that unfortunate event, for that moment. So if you're interested and you want help there, please feel free to reach out for a complimentary meeting. We'll see what we can do to help you out.
Erik, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but that number to call to take advantage of the opportunity to have this complimentary meeting and meet with Erik and the team at Retirement Financial Group, that number is on the bottom of your screen, 866-688-2591. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. Simply scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short questions, and then a member of the team will reach out to you to set up your complimentary meeting that way as well. Again, we are here for you. You do not have to go through this alone, so we encourage you pick up the phone and make that important phone call. When we come back, I'm going to be asking Erik about some of his must-haves when it comes to planning for these things, so make sure you have a pen and a paper. You're going to want to jot this list down. More after this.
I'm an engineer by degree, and so I was working for ExxonMobil coming out of college, and then went to Motiva or Shell after ExxonMobil and spent a few years there. And I ended up working just a ton of hours. Loved my job, loved the people. I love what I did, but two things were kind of the catalyst that kind of pushed me on. One was, I had 2 kids at the time, and I would go to work at 5 a.m. I would get home 5 to 6 p.m. They were young, so they were going to bed early, and so there was very limited time I would get to see them in the evenings. And 2 days a week, due to our church activities, I didn't get to spend any quality time with them at all. That, coupled with my mom passing away at a young age of 52, just weeks after my dad retired, those two things coupled together, the lack of time with my own children that I was seeing as a progression, and then my mom passing away, said it's time for a change. I don't want to do this anymore. Honestly, early on, I thought I was crazy. I was like, why did I leave that great job to start all over again? And I just realized that I didn't want to spend my whole life working behind the refinery gates. I'd rather take the skills the Lord had given me to go help people like my mom and dad maybe retire sooner so they could spend more time together.
Welcome back to the Money Drill. I'm Kristin Oakley here with Erik Morgan, President of Retirement Financial Group, and we are having such an important conversation today surrounding end-of-life planning and making sure that your wishes are carried out once you're no longer here, and that you and your family members can be on the same page. And Erik, before the commercial break, we talked about a complimentary meeting. And of course, what happens during that meeting, it's a complimentary written financial plan that really meets people where they're at. But as part of that plan, you are more than happy to go into the specifics of what someone needs to have planned out for end-of-life planning. So if you would share a little bit more about what is involved in this written financial plan that they're going to receive, but also I can't wait to hear your list of must-haves as it relates to this important topic.
The written financial plan really kind of covers all the basics, right? And so, kind of the first meeting that you're going to have with us is really an interview, if you will. I interview you, you interview me. Are we a fit? Because this business is about a relationship. It's about trust. It's getting to know you, right? Yeah. And so that first meeting, I want you to do more talking as the client than I do. I want to learn about you. I want to learn your habits. I want to learn your goals, who you are as a person. What do you like? What do you not like? What is your purpose in retirement? And so from there, we kind of gather that information along with your assets and the tax information, all those things. Gather those things together, and then come back for that second complimentary meting where the plan will be laid out. And we use the KISS method. We keep it simple, right? Yes. And so, a lot of advisors and which is great. I mean, I have all the data, but they're presenting these big plans that are 35 pages long that no one reads. Right. No one understands the charts except for the person that prepared them, possibly. And so, what we do is we break it down. We present about 5 slides. And slide, here are your assets. Here are your goals. Here's our philosophy on investing. Here's your income plan. And here's the things that we took into account around that, right? And here are the next steps that we're proposing for you to go do. And it's real simple, and so we break it down. I have some guys who are engineers. They want to drill down. Right. And so I have all the data for them to drill down.
And then you get so excited because you get to geek out and drill down
with them, right? That's what I enjoy, right? It's like, okay, I like this. And then have guys like my dad that glosses over within 30 seconds. And so, and that's why I have the 5 or 6 pager, but we can go into the more detailed plan at anyone's request.
Yes.
You know, but in that plan, you know, one of the things that we're really starting to incorporate is, you know, it's kind of leading into probably where we're going with this segment is what all is included. You know, we have the financial aspect, the here and now. What about the after, right?
Yes.
And so that's kind of where we're going. And so we're getting more information about wills, right? And those things. And, you know, everyone needs to have an updated will. I know you don't think you might need it, but everyone needs an updated will because you want to make known your wishes up front, right? And then you know, make sure, I have a story I'll tell around this, but you have power of attorneys and the medical power of attorneys. You have medical directives.
There's 2 different things, right? So we're 3 actually.
Really?
So power of attorneys, medical power of attorneys, and medical directives.
That's correct.
Yeah, we got to explain these,
yeah,
right?
so power of attorney, that's you know, that's something that you could do if you're my power of attorney, you can kind of come in and transact business on my behalf, right? Whether it be financial documents, real estate.
Right.
And the medical power of attorney is medically you can do business on my behalf, right? You can sign away certain things.
Right.
The medical directives is what are your wishes in the event something happens in the hospital? Do you want to be on life support? Do you want those extra means of whatever life support, medical things that are needed to keep you alive?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And how do the individuals involved make those decisions? So all that's into a package, right? And then, you know, specifically what I think along with those things we want to have is just this list, you know, a 1-pager, maybe it's 2, depending on what you have and where, but of all your assets, right? Here's my house. Here's all the details of the house. Here are all my accounts. Here are the account numbers. Here's who to contact in the event of a passing. You know, contact this advisor, that advisor. Here are my bank statements or bank accounts. All those things and what designations they are in terms of sources, right? Whether they're joint accounts or individual accounts or IRAs, but all that in one spot.
Yes.
I think about my mother-in-law. Her mom, my wife's grandmother, passed away 2018, nearly 6 years ago. Just this year, my mother-in-law finds an insurance policy. Cleaning out some stuff, she comes across this insurance policy. She calls me. She said, "Do you know anything about this company?" And I didn't. I never heard of them. And anyway, we did some digging. Kind of found out it was $2,000.
Wow.
You know, not a lot of money.
But still,
however, it's $2,000 6 years later.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, because there was no consolidated place.
Right.
And the key is not just having that stuff in one place, but letting people know where it's at. There's a joke that, you know, whenever I travel, I have this evergreen document with all that stuff is where it's all located. And whenever I travel specifically alone, I send that document as I'm boarding the airplane, to my wife, to my brother, to my dad, to my in-law. Everyone, all these people get this document. If something happens to me, here's what I want you to go do, and here are the details. Right. And they get so upset with me because
they don't want to think about it.
It's kind of an odd time to send it, like you're traveling, and so. But it's so important to have, Kristin. Yes. I mean, I think it just takes. You love the people well by doing that, right?
You do. It's one of the most loving things that you
it
can
really
ever
is,
do.
you know, and I think it's so important. I think about my client also. A mom and a daughter this year. Mom was 86 years old. Daughter was around 65. Mom passes away. You know. And what happened with the mom is I'd been telling the family that she needs medical power of attorney. She needs all these instruments.
Right.
Well, they didn't do it. Okay. And I didn't have, you know, I mean, I can't make them do those things, right?
You can make those recommendations and say this is what's in your best interest, but at the end of the day, they have to decide, right? Yeah.
And so, long story short, mom passes away without getting any of that stuff done. So she had an account with these beneficiaries. Well, within 8 weeks of mom passing, the daughter passes.
Oh, wow.
And kind of the same deal leading up to that, you need to go get this done. You need to go get this done. Well, she didn't do it. And so now she has no heirs. She was never married. She has no children. What happens to the money? Right. That money's going to be tied up for years before it ever gets dispersed to anyone, right? So much years and years of work have to go in to get that money back to her, whether it be her nieces and nephews or her brothers or whoever it goes to at that point. But long story short, plan ahead, be ready for those things. And if you're in that position where you're not sure about what you do have, or you know, maybe you don't really want to think about it, but now's the time to think. Now's the time to act. The time to act is not whenever you're sick, right? Because at that point in time, the documents you sign might not be relevant, right? The judge might say you're not in a spot mentally or physically where you should be able to sign these things, but now's the time to act. Our team has taken approaches where we have a lawyer in-house now. It doesn't work directly for us, but it's a team on our team where he will sit down and he will get these things written up for you legally, and we'll sit down and see how that plays into your written financial plan. It's so important that they coexist together, right? Not alone, but together. So if that's you, you're interested in doing that, give us a call. We'd love to sit down with you for a complimentary written plan.
Wonderful. Erik, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but if you're feeling overwhelmed, or if anything you've heard today, you feel that tug and you just know you've been putting it off, you've been procrastinating, but you need and want to take that action, we encourage you. You don't have to go this alone. Call the number on the bottom of your screen, 866-688-2591, or you can scan that QR code that will also get you connected. Again, this is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. You'll get to come in, meet with Erik and the team at Retirement Financial Group to get your complimentary written plan, and they will be happy to walk you through step by step and get all these pieces in place for you. When we come back, Erik's going to be sharing a unique strategy surrounding legacy planning, something I had never heard before until earlier today. You're not going to want to miss it, so stay with us.
Our team, both at the Nederland and Beaumont locations, are all top-notch. They love people. That was one of the main criteria that we wanted. We wanted someone that loves people and that would engage with the people well, our clients well, and make sure the clients know that they are cared for the moment they walk in the office, the moment they leave. I've actually asked my wife a few times, like, remind me again exactly why I got into a career field where people's livelihood depended on me. But then I think about my dad. I think about, the many couples, the many clients that we have where there's a real relationship now where they call me and we talk, we're friends, and we fellowship together, and the change that I've seen in them for the good and for myself as well.
Welcome back to the Money Drill. I'm Kristin Oakley here with Erik Morgan. And Erik, earlier today we were talking about the content of this show, and you shared a strategy around legacy planning that is unique to the state of Texas. I know there's a few other states that are involved, but having grown up in North Carolina, I never had heard of this before. So I am so excited for you to share this important legacy planning strategy with our viewers. Yeah,
it is 5 states only in the U.S. Texas, West Virginia, Vermont, Michigan, and Florida.
Okay.
Right? 5 states that allow this to happen. It's called the Lady Bird Deed. Okay, and what the Lady Bird Deed is, a lot of people just think, and I thought about this for years, I just thought for a long time it was to avoid Medicaid, right? So, meaning to take an asset out of Medicaid's eyes.
To spend down.
To spend down, if you will.
The correct term, right? Yeah.
And so, but really there's so much more to that, right? So the Lady Bird Deed, what that does, it allows the owner, so in my case, whenever I do it, it allows me to maintain ownership of my home. Okay. It's almost like a life estate deed.
Right.
So I can maintain ownership of my home, but go ahead and gift that over to my children.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So what happens there is because it's done while I'm alive, okay, then it avoids probate. So it's really big on the avoiding probate. The more things you can take out of probate, the better it will be. So
and that's because probate is lengthy, it's expensive, and my gosh, it's a nightmare to go through.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it really depends, everyone's family is different. Everyone's family dynamic is different.
Yes.
But really, if you really want something to be done, and done in a certain manner, the more you can do, the more you can control before you're passing, the better it will be. Absolutely. Example, all your accounts. You can put exactly how much each beneficiary gets in terms of the percentage. This, you can say, I want it to go to this son or this daughter or both 50-50. You can put that on the deed through the Lady Bird Trust or Lady Bird Deed. Okay. And so I think it's just really important, but the key is you have to have a trusted attorney to do that, right? Yes. I mean, and I know I've been making that plug a lot, but it's just so important. Having all of these different professionals, financial advisors, they should not work in silos.
No, absolutely not.
So we work hand in hand with Adam Floyd, and we've used also Brian Mills and Beaumont. Both are great guys, but Adam offices inside of our building. We've had this, he's not paid by us. We share no profits, but it's just strictly we have this arrangement to where because my clients need it. We have negotiated a price that is beneficial to them to do these types of things.
Well, and I love that then you're all working together because, you know, you've heard me say this all the time, how you make a decision in one area of your financial life does and will affect all the others. And so to have all those key players working together to be a part of a client's team, that's huge.
That's right. You know, and I think a lot of, you know, financial advisors are not even considering this in terms of what is best, and not to pick on them, but it's just they're trained, and what we think about is, you know, financial picture only.
Right.
You know,
just focusing on this one
asset
piece.
allocation, the taxes, and all those things are super important. However, there's these other elements that affect some of those things, right? So, for example, you pass away and your house is tied up in probate. Who's going to pay for it? How does those things work? All that stuff has to come into the plan in one shape or one form or another, right? And that's really what we have really focused on. And, you know, and really, what I also like about the Ladybird deed, that, you know, with medical costs on the rise, there's a trend. There's a graph that was recently reported back in May of this year, 2023, that says that healthcare cost has risen more than any other cost over the last 23 years.
I believe it.
By, I mean,
exorbitant.
Correct, multiples, right?
Yes.
And so what is nice about the Ladybird deed is, if in the event something happens and you incur all this medical debt, you haven't paid it off yet, you know, I mean, the creditors cannot come after your home like they could in probate, right? Because it's tied up in the estate. But because that house is no longer in your name, they cannot come after it. So the key is having the right people in place to do those things: the accountants, the attorneys, the financial advisors, working together. And if you're sitting there wondering, are my guys or are my folks working together as a team? There's a probability they are not. Right? So I would love for you to come in, let us look at your plan. Does it incorporate these things? You know, and we haven't always done this. We're getting better at this. So let us come in to see us. Let us help you walk through those things together, making sure you have every element pieced in to make sure your plan is robust and reliable now and in the future upon your passing.
Erik, what a great, valuable show. Thank you for putting your time and effort into being able to share this with our viewers.
I always enjoy it.
I know you do, and we hope that you found this to be valuable as well. Again, you don't have to go this alone. It might be new to you, but it's not new to Erik and the team at Retirement Financial Group. So we encourage you, call that number on the bottom of the screen. They would love to help you. We love you, Southeast Texas, and we look forward to being back with you next week.